Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Transformers Friday from the Toybox edition. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker. Let's get into it! Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories in his alt mode. And first up, we have this very nice instruction manual made out of this kind of glossy paper that we don't get to see with Transformers anymore. You know, and it's not really, this isn't really in color, but then you've got some colors down here, and the images are really clear and crisp, and you know, instructions are easy to follow. It does say it's number 2 easy, so there is that. And I like these instructions a lot better than the newer ones that are on this less expensive paper, but at least they figured out how to make it not blurry, but that's the whole thing. Anyway, so let's take a look at old Thundercracker here, and you can see, like most Seekers, from the top down it looks really great. And then he's got a little bit of paint going on here on the wings, the Decepticon tampos, and then some silver up here. And there are some cockpit details. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera. So, but there is a seat in there and a screw in the back. And it's got that nice translucent plastic for the canopy. And we've got some paint going on here. I think all of that is paint. And even on the back side here as well. I could be wrong, but that's the way it looks to me. And of course he's got his rocket launchers here. And something that they didn't include on like the Earthrise molds of this, and from all the engineering that they reused from this, you know, these pieces, they don't spin or anything, but it is landing gears, and it does give you slight bit of height up off the ground. The other pair are back here in the feet, and again, they don't roll or anything. It just lifts it up off the ground like it should. So I think that's a really cool feature of it. We've got silver all in here. So very nice looking. And you know, it's, you know, the underside, it's not the cleanest, but there's only so much you can do, I guess, with a transformer that actually transforms. They're going to have kibble, they're going to have backpacks, they're going to have things that just don't look right from certain angles. And that's just a given, unless, you know, it's a super duper expensive one that just, I don't know. I don't really have any of those, so. Then he does have these spring-loaded missile launchers here, and they do still work. So, those are really cool. They're fun. You can get stuff like that anymore. Well, there you have it, my friends. There is a look at the figure and accessories in his alt mode. It's time for alt mode comparisons. And here we have the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker with the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Earthrise Voyager Class Thundercracker. For our last set of alt mode comparisons, here we have the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker with the Transformers Titans Returns Legends Class Bumblebee and the Amazon exclusive Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Earthrise Leader Class Alternate Universe Optimus Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the comedy portion of our show where I attempt to transform this Transformer. So, excuse me. I like to start with removing the missiles, and they're already out. So, we'll just unport these, and you can see there's a port here, and there's a post here, and that's how they go together. And same here. Now, what I like to do, let's go ahead and fold these up, like that. Then the wings, you can see there's a little divot right here, and there's a little bump right here, and that kind of sort of locks it into place in plane mode. But those flip up just like the Earthrise figures. Now, something that's not like the Earthrise figures. The Earthrise figures have that funky hinge in the knee. These just pull straight down. So there is that. And then you can just flip the feet out like that. And as I did that, the legs came untabbed. You can see there's 2 tabs there and 2 ports here. And that's how that works. And then there's another little bump right here on these, and they go in that same divot that the wings tabbed into or tabbed out of earlier, and that just keeps them in place, and it does a pretty darn good job of it. Now, just like the Earthrise, this piece lifts back, the arm pieces do fold out, and then this piece is on a double hinge where it comes out, and then you can swing it around because it twists as well, and then it goes down in there, and then you close this back up. And then you can close these up as well. So that looks better. Now, as far as the arms go, they don't extend out like the Earthrise molds. The hands just kind of fold up into it, and you just fold them out, unless you're like me, can't get a hold to it. It's got some little pieces on there on the hinge where you can kind of get a hold to it. And then the last thing, just like the Earthrise piece, or the Earthrise mold, that piece goes back. And there you have it, my friends, the figure all transformed. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And first up, let's take a look at the missile launchers. And you can see this looks like it's molded in this color, and this part looks like it's molded in this black color, and this part looks like it's molded in this color, which is the missile release. So it's 2 of those are exactly the same. And then we have his little missile piece, which also doubles as his gun. You can see it's got these tabs sticking out of it here, and you can see how that's done, because the missile will only go in there if those line up. And then you put it in there, and when you get it in there all the way, you hear that satisfying click, And again, there's two of those as well, and they're exactly the same. So we'll get those out of the way for a minute. Let's take a look at the figure himself. Now it looks like he actually has a silver paint app on the face. The eyes are red, and they're painted red. And then black paint for the helmet, it looks like. And then we've got nice silvers. We've got these details up here. And so we've got some nice silver. A lot of stuff we already talked about from the alt mode. We've got this stripe right here. And then we've got these. And then the feet are molded in color, and everything else is like we talked about before. And you know, the back, even the back is pretty clean for what it is. Now, as far as his articulation goes, the head doesn't tilt up or down, and no waggle, no chicken neck, and I can't even get it to turn. So it may just be stuck. Now, as far as his arm goes, let's see. He can raise it up way past 90. And as far as it going all the way around, technically it will go a full 360, but because the wing is in the way, it does stop it. He has a single hinge at the elbow. And it gives you that much bend, slightly less than 90. Nothing at the waist. At the hips, he gives you the full splits. He can kick forward that far, backwards that far. He does have a twist right here at the knee, so it's a single hinge and swivel at the knee. So it swivels 360 degrees. And gives you slightly less than 90 degrees worth of bend. No rocker at the ankle. Tilt is due to transformation, and it just tilts up. And as far as his articulation goes, that is it, my friends. Now, his accessories, of course, there's ports right here, and you just port that in. He can, however, also hold it in his hand if that is what you want to do with it. But of course, I like it the classic way, which is ported into his shoulder. And there you have it, my friends. A look at the figure and his accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a Transformers review, robot mode comparisons. And here we have the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker with the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Earthrise, Voyager class Thundercracker. For our last set of robot mode comparisons, here we have the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker with the Transformers Titans Returns Legends Class Bumblebee and the Walmart exclusive Netflix Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy Earthrise Leader Class Optimus Prime. For final thoughts on the 2010 Transformers Generations Deluxe Class Thundercracker, I will have to tell you, this was my first Thundercracker. I had had several Starscreams, and even up through Classics and Generations. Of course, you know, in Classics they didn't make all three Jets, I don't think, and Generations, they didn't make all three. So this was, you know, my first attempt to complete those original Seekers, and I almost had them. The Skywarp, of course, was an exclusive. It was a Target exclusive, which I did see in the store one time, but it was a 2-pack with a white Classics Optimus Prime that they were calling Ultra Magnus, and which I should have picked it up at the time, and then I could have eventually, because this guy didn't come out till years later, could have, you know, that could have been my first time completing that set of Seekers. But alas, it was not to be. My first complete set of the 3 Seekers was in Combiner Wars, and I will eventually, I did cover one of those. I think it was Starscream. No, it was either Thundercracker or Skywarp. I can't remember which one right off the top of my head, but I will get the other 2 covered as well at some point. But as far as this goes, the mold is good. The engineering is solid. In fact, a lot of the engineering that you see in this, you see again in the Earthrise Seekers. And even beyond that, anytime they're making an Earth mode Seeker, you know, you're still seeing a lot of the engineering from this particular mold. And I think that's cool. There are some things I would like to see improved, like the, you know, the nose cone hanging out just right behind the head. I would like to see that be a thing of the past. But right now in mainline, that's the way it is. They're going to reuse and reuse and reuse that mold forever. Okay, maybe not forever, but it seems like they're going to reuse it for a little while. But I like the paint on this one. It's very, it really looks Thundercracker. And I enjoyed this line when it was out. And when I say this line, I'm talking about Classics and Generations, and you know, that all just kind of goes together for me. And when I think of it, I think this more of in the Classics vein than in Generations or Universe or anything like that. But that's just me. Your mileage, of course, may vary. But overall, again, I like this mold. There's a lot of the engineering that's still being used. And the firing missiles are a cool gimmick. You can tell, like, this is back when toys were still kind of sort of made for kids. Back in 2010, I think kids were still playing with toys, and they still do a little bit, but not to the extent that Generation X did. You know, that came up in the late 70s and early 80s. You know, there was a lot to choose from. And nostalgically, there's a lot to choose from still. So there is that. But yeah, this is a good one. I really like it. In fact, all the Seekers that I eventually was able to get a hold of off of this mold, I like them all too. So, well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I am now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.